Verse 39. When the actions of the yogi are through the service of the lotus feet of his guru in all respects good, then he will see above it, that is, the Agnya Chakra, the form of the Mahanada, and will ever hold in the lotus of his hand the Siddhi of speech. The Mahanada, which is the place of dissolution of Vayu, is the half of Shiva, and like the plough in shape, is tranquil, and grants boons, and dispels fear, and makes manifest pure intelligence, Buddhi. Commentary. He now wishes to describe the intermediate causal body, Karanavatara Sharira, situated above Agnya Chakra and below Sahasrara, and says, when the actions of the yogi are through the service of the lotus feet of his guru in all respects good, that is, when he excels by intense concentration of the mind in yoga practice, he then sees the image of Mahanada above it, above the Agnya Chakra, and he becomes accomplished in speech or Vak-siddha. Actions in all respects good. Shushila. The good inclination for yoga practice rendered admirable by strong and undivided application thereto. This result is obtained by serving the Guru. The author then qualifies Nada and says it is the place of dissolution of Vayu, Vairor Laya Sthanam. The rule is, things dissolve into what they originate from. Hence, although in Bhuta Shuddhi and other practices it has been seen that Vayu dissolves into Sparsha Tattva, and the latter in Vyoma, Vayu dissolves in the Nada also. We have the authority of revelation or Shruti for this. Prithvi, the possessor of Rasa or Rasavati, originated from Ikara. From Kakara, who is Rasa, the waters and Tirthas issued. From Refa or Rakara originated Vani Tattva. From Nada came Vayu, which pervades all life. From Bindu originated the void, which is empty of all things, and is the sound container. And from all these issued the 25 tattvas, which are Guna Maya. All this universe, which is the mundane egg of Brahma, is pervaded by Kalika. We should therefore realize in our mind that at the time the letters of the Kali mantra are merged into that which is subtle, Vayu is absorbed in Nada. Half of Shiva, Shivardha. By this is meant that there is Shiva in the form of Ardha Narishvara. Half is Shakti, which is Nada. Like a plough, Sirakara. The word Sira is spelt here with a short I, and in Amarakosha it is spelt with a long I, but it is clearly the same word, as it begins with a dental S. Above it is Mahanada in the form like a plough and lustrous. If the text is read as Shivakara instead of Sirakara, then the meaning would be that the nada is Shiva, Shakti, Maya. From the Prayogasara, that Shakti which tends toward the seat of liberation is called male. When quickened by nada, she turns towards Shiva. It is therefore that Raghava Bhatta has said that nada and bindu are the conditions under which she creates. It has elsewhere been said, she is eternal, existing as Chit. When, being near the light, she is desirous of change, she becomes massive and bindu. So in the word of the honored Acharya, nada becomes massive and the bindu. Now, taking all these into consideration, the conclusion is that Shakti manifests herself as nada bindu, like gold in earrings made of gold. Nada and bindu again are one. That is the deduction. Verse 40. Above all these, in the vacant space, wherein is Shankini Nadi, and below Visarga is the lotus of 1,000 petals. This lotus, lustrous and whiter than the full moon, has its head turned downward. It charms. Its clustered filaments are tinged with the color of the young sun. Its body is luminous, with the letters beginning with A, and it is the absolute bliss. Commentary. The Acharya enjoins that sadhakas who wish to practice Samadhi Yoga should, before such time, with every consideration and effort, dissolve all things in their order, from the gross to the subtle, in Chidatma. All things, both gross and subtle, which make up creation, should first be meditated upon, as the knowledge thereof is necessary. They are here described in detail. The 5 gross elements, Prithvi, and so forth, have been spoken of as being in the 5 chakras from Muladhara to Vishuddha. In the Bhumandala, in the Muladhara, there are the following: feet, sense of smell, and Gandha Tattva, for this is their place. In the Jala Mandala, similarly, are the hands, sense of taste, and Rasa Tattva. In the Vani Mandala are the anus, the sense of sight, and Rupa Tattva. In the Vayu Mandala are the penis, sense of touch, and Sparsha Tattva. In the Nabho Mandala are speech, the sense of hearing, and Shabda Tattva. These make 15 tattvas. Adding these 15 to Prithvi and so forth, we get 20 gross tattvas. We next proceed to the subtle forms. In the Agnya Chakra, the subtle manas has been spoken of. Others have been spoken of in the Kankal Malini Tantra, chapter 2, when dealing with the Agnya Chakra. Here constantly shines the excellent manas, made beautiful by the presence of the Shakti Hakini. It is lustrous and has buddhi, prakriti, and ahankara for its adornment. From the above, the presence of the 3 subtle forms, Buddhi, Prakriti and Ahankara in this place becomes clear. We must, however, know that Ahankara is not placed in the order shown in the above quotation. We have seen that from the Muladhara upwards, the generated is below the generator. That which is dissolved is below what it is dissolved into. And we also know that the Shabdakrama is stronger than Pattakrama. We must enter that Vyoma is dissolved in Ahankara, and hence the latter is next above Vyoma. In Ahankara, Vyoma with sound should be dissolved, and Ahankara again in Mahat. Ahankara, being the place of dissolution, comes first above Vyoma, and above it are Buddhi and Prakriti. The Sharada Tilaka speaks of their connection as Janya, or effect generated, and Janaka, cause or generator. From the unmanifest Mullabhuta, Paravastu and Vikrika originated Mahat Tattva, which consists of the gunas and Anat Karana. From this Mahat Tattva originated Ahankara, which is of three kinds according to its source of generation. By Vikrit, which means change, is here meant reflection or image of the Paravastu, and as such reflection it is Vikriti. But as it is the Prakriti of Mahat Tattva, it is also called Prakriti. Prakriti is the Parama Shakti, and Vikriti is the product thereof. It has also been shown before that the Prakriti of the Para-Brahman is but another aspect of him. According to Sharada Tilaka, Mahat Tattva is the same as Buddhi. Ishana Shiva says, the object Prakriti, which is evolved by Shakti, is, when associated with Sattva Guna, Buddhi Tattva. It is this Buddhi that is spoken of as Mahat in Sankhya. Mahat Tattva consists of the gunas and the Anat Karana. The gunas are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The Sharada Tilaka says, Anat Karana is the Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta of the Atma. All these are comprised in the term Mahat Tattva. Now a question may be raised, namely, if Manas be within Mahat Tattva, what of that which has been said in verse 33, where Manas has been spoken of as having an independent existence? But the answer to that is that Manas is the product of Ahankara, and Raghava Bhatta quotes a text which says, in so much as the other Manas is the one which selects and rejects, it is known to be the product of Tejas. Thus it is that, as Manas and other Tattvas in the Agnya Chakra are placed in their order, Ahankara and others should be known as being placed above them. In the Agnya Chakra are Hakini, Itaralinga, Pranava, Manas, Ahankara, Buddhi and Prakriti placed consecutively one above the other, no place being assigned to Chandra Mandala, which has been spoken of before. It should be taken to be placed above all these. If it be asked why, why is it not below all these? Then the reply is that it has been said in the Sammohana Tantra, moon or Indu is in the forehead, and above it is Bodhini, herself. From this it would appear that Indu and Bodhini are above Agnya Chakra, placed one above the other without anything intervening between them. Bodhini is above all the rest. The Sammohana Tantra speaks of the cause as above Agnya Chakra. Indu, the moon, is in the region of the forehead, and above it is Bodhini herself. As Bodhini shines the excellent nada in form like the half-crescent moon, above this is the lustrous Mahanada in shape like a plough. Above this is the Kala called Anji, the beloved of yogis. Above this last is Unmani, which having reached, one does not return. In the above passage, in the words, above it is Bodhini, the word it stands for the forehead or Agnya Chakra. The Buddha Shuddhi Tantra speaks of the existence of the Bindu below Bodhini. Devi, above Bindu and Matrarda, is Nada, and above this again is Mahanada, which is the place of dissolution for Vayu. Matrardha is Matrardha Shakti. The following passage from Brihat Tri Vikrama Samhita proves that the Ardha Mantra means Shakti. Lustrous, like the young sun, is Akshara, which is Bindu Mat, meaning Bindu itself. Above it is Ardha Matra, associated with Gandhara Raga. As both the above passages point to the same thing, we must take it that Ardha Matra and Bodhini are identical. Bindu, Bodhini and Nada are but different aspects of the Bindu Maya Parashakti. The Sharada Tilaka says, from the Sakala Parameshvara, who is Sat, Chit and Ananda, Shakti emanated. From Shakti again emanated Nada, and Bindu has its origin from Nada. He who is Parashakti Maya manifests himself in three different ways. Bindu and Nada and Bija are but his different aspects. Bindu is Nadatmak, Bija is Shakti, and Nada again is the union or relation of one to the other. This is spoken of by all who are versed in the Agamas. Parashakti Maya. Para is Shiva. Hence, Shiva Shakti Maya is Bindu. The Bindu who is above the forehead is Nadatmaka, that is, Shivatmaka. Bija is Shakti as Bodhini. Nada is the connection between the two, whereby the one acts upon the other. Hence it is Kriya Shakti. Above these is Mahanada. This has already been shown. Above this is Kala. Kala is Shakti. Anji is a crooked, ori, bent line. This is in shape like a bent or crooked line over a letter. This Shakti appeared in the beginning of creation. Pancharata. Having thus seen the supreme male in the beginning of creation makes manifest the eternal Prakriti, who is the embodiment of Sat, Chit and Ananda, in whom are all the tattvas, and who is presiding Devi of creation. Also elsewhere, from the unmanifested Parameshvara, the united Shiva and Shakti emanated the Adya, meaning first Devi Bhagavati, who is Tripura Sundari, the Shakti from whom came Nada, and thence came Bindu. Above it is Unmani. By going where Manasness or Manastva of Manas ceases to be called Unmani, the attainment of which is the secret teaching of all tantras. The state of Unmani is the tattva, which means the dispelling of the attachment prompted by manas towards worldly objects. Unmani again is of two kinds. The first, Nirvana Kala Rupa, which also has its place in the Sahasrara. The second, Varnavali Rupa, which also has its place in this region. From the Kankala Malini, it says, in the pericap of the Sahasrara, placed within the circle of the moon, is the 17th Kala, devoid of attachment. The name of this is Unmani, which cuts the bond of attachment to the world. Also, by mental recitation of the Mala Varna, is Unmani, the granter of liberation, attained. The Bhuta Shuddhi speaks of the Samani below the Unmani. Next is the Vyapika Shakti, meaning diffusive energy, which people know as Anji. Samani is over this, and Unmani is above all. This Samani also is an intermediate aspect of Parashakti. We now get the following. Above Agnya Chakra is the second Bindu, which is Shiva or Shiva Swarupa. Above Bindu is the Shakti Bodhini in the shape like Ardhamatra. Next is Nada, which is the union of Shiva and Shakti in shape like a half-crescent moon. Next above this is Mahanada, shaped like a plough. Above Mahanada is Vyapika Shakti, crooked or Anji in shape. Above this last is Samani, and highest of these all is Unmani. This is the order in which the 7 causal forms, or Karana Rupa, are placed. There is no need to go into further detail. Let us then follow the text. Wishing to describe the Sahasrara, he speaks of it in 10 more verses. The verses are as following. Above all these, meaning above every other that has been described or spoken before. Over the head of the Shankini Nadi, a sight of which has been given to the disciple. Vacant space, or Shunya Desha, that is, the place where there are no nadis. The implication is that it is above where Shushumna ends. Below Visarga is the lotus of 1,000 petals. This is the purport of the shloka. Visarga is the upper part of the Brahmarandra. Meditate in that aperture on Visarga, the ever blissful and stainless. There are other similar passages. Its body is luminous with, etc. Lalatya Varanya Pravilasita Vapu. The word Lalita stands for the first vowel A. By this we are to understand that the second Lakara or L is to be left out in counting the letters of the alphabet. In counting the 50 letters, the second Lakara is always left out. If the text is read as Lakara Idya Varanya, it is done by some. We must leave Ksha Kara out in counting the letters. The 51 letters cannot be taken to be in the petals of the Sahasrara. With 51 letters repeated 20 times, the number is 1020, and repeated 19 times is 969. By leaving out Ksha-kara, we are freed of this difficulty. By Lakara-diya, it is not meant that the letters are to be read Viloma. The Kankala Malini in the following passage distinctly says that it is to be read Anuloma. The great lotus Sahasrara is white and has its head downward, and the lustrous letters from Akara or A, ending with the last letter before Kshakara or Ksha, decorate it. Here it is distinctly stated that the letter Ksha is left out. Akradi Ksha Karanta. This compound Ksha Karanta is formed by Bahu Virihi Samasa, would mean that Kshakara is left out of calculation. There is nothing said of the color of the letters, and as the matrika or letters are white, they are to be taken as being white on the Sahasrara petals. These letters go round the Sahasrara from right to left. Some read Pravilasita Tanu in place of Pravilasita Vapu, and say that as the word Padma alternately becomes masculine in gender, therefore the word Tanu, which qualifies a word in the masculine gender, is itself masculine. That cannot be. The verb nivasati has for its nominative padam, and as it ends with the bindu m, it is in the neuter gender and not masculine. For in that case it would have ended with visarga, and its adjective tanu would also end with a visarga. The word tanu, if their reading is accepted, would be in the neuter. Therefore it cannot end with a bindu. And if there is no bindu, the meter becomes defective. Therefore the correct reading is Pravilasita Vapu. The rest is clear. Verse 41. Within it, the Sahasrara, is the full moon, without the mark of the hair, resplendent as in a clear sky. It sheds its rays in profusion, and is moist and cool like nectar. Inside it, Chandramandala, constantly shining like lightning, is the triangle, and inside this again shines the great void which is served in secret by all the Suras. Commentary. Here he speaks of the existence of the Chandramandala in the pericap of the Sahasrara. Resplendent as in a clear sky, Shuddha, seen in a cloudless sky, nirmalo daya vishishta, is moist and cool. Parmarasa chaya snigdha santa nasi. Singdha, which means moist, implies the moisture of the nectar. Paramarasa or Amrita is free from heat. Hence the meaning of this compound word. Its rays are cool and moist and produce a feeling of smiling gladness. The Kankala Malini speaks of the presence of Antaratma in the upper portion of the space below Chandramandala. In dealing with the Sahasrara, it says, in its pericarp, O Devisha, is the Antaratma. Above it is the Guru. The mandalas of Surya and Chandra are also there. Above this is Mahavayu, and then the Brahmarandra. In this aperture is Visarga, the ever-blissful Brahman. Above this last is the Devi Shankini, who creates, maintains, and destroys. Within Chandramandala constantly shines like lightning the triangle. Trikonam tasyant viduya darkararupam. That is, the shining triangle is there. Inside this shines the great void. Tadanta shunyam spurati. That which as a void within is the body of the Parabindu. Within the triangle the excellent Bindu, Shunya, shines, or within the triangle the Shunya, which is the excellent Bindu, shines. The Todala Tantra, 6th Ulasa, says, the Supreme Light is formless or Nirakara, and Bindu is imperishable. Bindu means void or Shunya, and implies Guna also. Served in secret, Sevitam Chattigupatam. The rule is eating or ahara, evacuation or nirhara, sexual intercourse or vihara, and yoga should be done in secret by him who knows the Dharma. Hence, suras or devas serve and worship it in secret. Verse 42. Well concealed and attainable only by great effort is that subtle Bindu, Shunya, which is the chief root of liberation and which manifests the pure Nirvana Kala with Amma Kala. Here is the Deva, who is known to all as Parama Shiva. He is the Brahman and the Atma of all beings. In him are united both Rasa and Virasa. And he is the sun, which destroys the darkness of nescience and delusion. Commentary. The sense is that the void, Shunya, is very secret and subtle, being, as described later, like the 10,000,000th part of the end of a hair. It is attainable only by great effort, consisting of long and incessant performance of dhyana and like practices. It makes manifest the purity of the 16th Kala of the moon, along with Nirvana Kala, that is, the void Anta Shunya. Along with the Amma Kala and Nirvana Kala within the triangle is realized by meditation. It is the source of all the great mass of great bliss, which is liberation. Some, however, read Sakala Shashti Kala Shuddha Rupa Praksham as qualifying the great void within the triangle, and read Sakala to mean with all the 16 kalas, and say that the Parabindu manifests the moon with such kalas. This requires consideration. When it was said that the trikona or triangle is within the full moon, the repetition of it is useless. Furthermore, in the previous verse we have got served by the suras. The term service, as applied to a void, is inappropriate. The object of service is the bindu within the triangle. If it be said that the void should be worshipped by reason of the presence of the Parabindu, then the Parabindu being there present, there is no void. Well concealed, suguptam, by reason of its being like a millionth part of a hair. By great effort, yatnat, that is, by long continued practice of meditation or dhyana and so forth. Chief root, param kandam. Para usually means supreme, excellent. Here, chief principle. Kanda is mula. Liberation. Atishaya Parama Moda Santana Rashi. The compound word means literally continuity of all the mass of great and supreme bliss, and this is liberation or moksha. Manifest, etc. Kala. Sakala Shashi Kala Shuddha Rupa Praksham. This compound word is to be broken up as follows. Sakala is with the kala. Kala here meaning nirvana kala. In the word Shashi kala, the kala means amma kala, the 16th kala, or digit of the moon. Shuddha means pure. The luster is not obscured by anything. The sense is that the Parabindu, though subtle and otherwise imperceptible, is seen by meditation with the Amma Kala and Nirvana Kala in the Trikona. If Sugopyam be read in place of Suguptam, then it would be qualified by Yatnat. Some read Sakala Shashi Kala Shuddha Rupa Praksham to qualify Shunya in the previous verse, and say Shunya means vacant space, but that is absurd. Next, he speaks of the presence of Paramashiva in the pericap of the Sahasrara. Paramashiva. Paramashiva Samkhyana Siddha. He who is known by the name Paramashiva. The Brahman, Karupi. Ka is Atma, the spirit. The Atma of all beings. Sarvatma. Sarva is all beings. He is the Jivatma, but in fact there is no distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma. The Atma is the Jiva. The Adhyatma, Ramayana says, the Jivatma is merely another name for the Paramatma. When, by the instructions of the Acharya and the Shastras, their oneness is known, then the disciple possesses Mula Vidya concerning Jivatma and Paramatma. The Shruti also, when it says, that thou art, tat tvam asi, identifies the tvam or thou with the tat or that. Rasa and virasa. Rasa virasa mitta. Rasa is Paramananda rasa, that is, the experience of supreme bliss. Virasa is the bliss which is the product of the union of Shiva and Shakti. He is both. Or rasa may mean the natural attachment to worldly enjoyment, and virasa, detachment from it. The meaning would then be, in him is the supreme bliss arising from his detachment from worldly enjoyment. The sun is Hamsa. As the sun dispels darkness, so does he dispel nescience or anjana and delusion or moha. Verse 43. By shedding a constant and profuse stream of nectar-like essence, the Bhagavan instructs the yati of pure mind in the knowledge by which he realizes the oneness of the Jivatma and the Paramatma. He pervades all things as their Lord, who is the ever-flowing and spreading current of all manner of bliss, known by the name of Hamsa, Parama, Paramahamsa. Commentary. Constant and profuse. Niravadhi Atiram. By shedding a stream of nectar-like essence, Suddha Dhara Saram Vimuchan. The compound word can be made up and interpreted in 4 different ways. The first, shedding a stream of nectar-like essence. Second, the adhara or receptacle of Shuddha or nectar is Shuddhadhara, by which is meant the moon. Asara is what flows therefrom, a stream. Now, what flows from the moon is nectar, which is silvery. Hence the whole word means the silvery beams of the moon. This adjective proves that the qualified noun is white or transparent like the moon. Third, asara may again mean what is uttered or word. Suddhadhara is receptacle of sweetness, which is a quality of nectar. Hence, Suddhadhara Saram is nectar-like or ambrosial word. The meaning of Nirvadi would then be at all times, and Atitaram would mean powerful in destroying the darkness or ignorance or delusion. Vimnuchan should then mean uttering. The fourth, Suddha again may mean nectar of mercy, and Sara is essence, that is, the essence of Brahma mantra, and Dhara is a stream or continuous repetition of the merciful word containing the essence of the Brahma mantra. Instructs the yati, etc. Bhagwan nirmala matar yate swamajnanam dishtati. Yati, he whose mind intently rests upon the devata of his worship. Knowledge by which, etc. Parama Atma. Svatma Jnana. Svam is Jivatma and Atma is Paramatma. and jnana, that by which one knows, namely the Tarka Brahma mantra, which leads to a knowledge of the Paramatma and thereby helps the worshipper to realize the oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. Dishati is upadishati or instructs. The above qualifying expressions imply that the qualified noun is the Guru, as instructions regarding Tarka Brahma mantra proceed from him. So it qualifies Param Shiva in the preceding verse as he is the Guru. Guru Tattva Nirupana in Lalita Rahasya. After describing Guru as the well-known and excellent Purusha who is ever fond of enjoyment with the self, it goes on to say, his beloved is the lustrous one who may be gained with difficulty by the Brahma Vartam or Brahman road. The Parama Brahman is but the effulgence of her lotus feet. By the above passage is meant that the great beauty of her lotus feet overspreads the heart lotus of Paramashiva, who is the Para Brahman. The place for the feet of the lustrous beloved of the Guru is on the breast of the Guru, and not on that of any other Purusha. Hence Paramashiva and the Guru are one and the same. The Nirvana Tantra also says, in the lotus in the head is Mahadeva, the Parma Guru. There is in the three worlds no one, O Devisha, who is so deserving of worship as he. O Devi, meditate on his form, which includes all the four Gurus. This Paramashiva is outside the triangle in the pericap and above the Hamsa of which we speak below. The Kamkala Malini Tantra says, in the pericap of this lotus, O Devishi, is the Antaratma, and above it the Guru. The mandalas of sun and moon are also there. And after having spoken of the presence of different things in their order up to Maha Samkini, it then proceeds, below it, O Devishi, is the Trikona or triangle, placed in the mandala of moon, and having meditated there on the undecaying Kala, one should meditate within upon the 17th Kala by name Nirvana, which is like a crescent. The above passage speaks of the presence of Amma Kala and so forth within the triangle in the Chandra Mandala. The Guru, therefore, is below them and above the Antaratma. Now, if it is to be asked how it is that the Kamakala Malini, having placed the Guru over the Antaratma, the Guru is spoken of as placed above Hamsa, the answer is that the Antaratma and the Hamsa are one and the same. Guru Dhyana in Kamakala Malini says, meditate on your Guru sitting on a shining throne placed on the excellent Antaratma between Nada and Bindu. Also, elsewhere says, meditate on your Guru who is the image of Shiva himself as seated on the Hamsa Pitha, which is Mantara Maya. Also, the Anada Kalpa Tantra says, meditate on your Guru in the white lotus of 1,000 petals in the head. He is Paramashiva seated on the Hamsa among the filaments. On a careful consideration of the above authorities, the identity of Hamsa with Antaratma becomes clear. By the expression one's own Guru, who is Paramashiva, it is to be understood that Paramashiva himself is the Guru. The following passage, which relates to the Sahasrara, shows that Paramashiva is in the triangle. Within or near it, Sahasrara, is the lightning-like triangle, and within the triangle are the two bindus, which make the imperishable Visarga. There in the empty void is Paramashiva. These conflicting views lead to the conclusion that the Guru is within the triangle in the pericarp of the upturned lotus of 12 petals, below the pericarp of the Sahasrara, and inseparable from it. This has been made clear in the Paduka-Panchaka stotra. From these passages it is not to be inferred that the Guru is within the triangle in the pericarp of the Sahasrara. The triangular Hamsa is below the middle triangle, otherwise it would conflict with the authority of the Kamkala Malini Tantra. He pervades all things as their Lord, Samaste Sarvesha. That is, in this pericarp dwells He who is Lord of all. Now by saying that Paramashiva is there, it has been said that Ishwara, or Lord, is there. Then why this repetition? But there is an object in doing so, as the following qualifying expressions will show. The Sarvesha, meaning Lord of all, is the Hamsa. He is the mantra, Ham-sa. From Prapanchasara, she whose name is Tattva is Chinmatra. When by proximity to the light she wishes to create, she becomes massive and assumes the form of Bindu. Then in time she divides herself in two. The one on the right is Bindu, and the one on the left is Visarga. The right and left are respectively distinguished as male and female. Ham is the Bindu, and Sa is the Visarga. Bindu is Purusha, and Visarga is Prakriti. Hamsa is the union of Prakriti and Purusha who pervade the universe. The Mahakali Tantra speaks clearly on the subject. It says, in the empty space in the Chandra Mandala, which is within the Sahasrara, adorned with a celestial gateway, are the letters Ham and Sa, over which him who is pure like rock, crystal and dressed in pure white silken raiment, and so forth. Here the letters Ham and Sa are explicitly spoken of. Or if Hamsa and Parama be read separately as Hamsa and Parama, it would mean he who is known as Hamsa and Parama. The author himself speaks of him as Hamsa in the 49th verse. Or if the two words be read together, then the meaning would be he who is known by the name of Paramahamsa, by one of the exceptional rules of Karmadharya Samasa, this word having been formed, the word Anta being omitted. The Agama Kalpadruma says, he is called Paramahamsa, pervading all that is moving and motionless. Who is the ever-following, etc. Sakala Sukha Santana Lahari Parviha. That is, in him becoming manifest in every possible way, all kinds of imperishable and increasing happiness. That is, he is, as it were, an interminable chain of happiness. It has previously been said that this Hamsa is below Paramashiva. Verse 44. The Shaivas call it the abode of Shiva. The Vaishnavas call it Paramapurusha. Others again call it the place of Harihara. Those who are filled with a passion for the lotus feet of the Devi call it the excellent abode of the Devi, and other great sages or munis call it the pure place of Prakriti Purusha. Commentary. As Hamsa, who has in him all the Devatas, Sarva Devatmaya, and others are in his pericap, it is the place of the Devatas, of worship, of all the classes of worshippers, such as Shaivas, Shaktas, etc. The Shaivas, i.e., the worshippers of Shiva, call it the place of Shiva. The Vaishnavas call it Paramapurusha, that is, the place of the Paramapurusha, or Vishnu. Others again, Kechidapare, that is, others who are worshippers of Harihara, or in other words, united Vishnu and Shiva, and not of Shiva alone or Vishnu alone, call it the place of Harihara. They do not call it either the place of Hari, Vishnu, or of Shiva, Hara, but the place of their united selves. Other great sages, Munindra Apyanye. By this the author here means the worshippers of the Hamsa mantra, who call it the pure place of Prakriti Purusha. Hamsa is the union of Prakriti and Purusha. Hence it is the place of Prakriti and Purusha. The above shows that as this lotus is the dwelling place of the Parabindu, in which are all the Devatas, each worshipper calls it the place of the Devata of his own separate worship. Verse 45. That most excellent of men, who has controlled his mind and known this place, is never again born in the wandering. As there is nothing in the three worlds which binds him, his mind being controlled and his aim achieved, he possesses complete power to do all which he wishes, and to prevent that which is contrary to his will. He ever moves toward the Brahman. His speech, whether in prose or verse, is ever pure and sweet. Commentary. In this verse he speaks of the fruit of a complete knowledge of the Sahasrara. The idea sought to be conveyed is that a knowledge of this place should be gained as a whole and in detail. Who has controlled his mind? Niyata nija chitta, that is, he who has controlled and concentrated the inner faculties on this place, such an one becomes free from samsara, or in other words, he is released from bondage, as there is nothing to bind or attract him in these worlds. By bondage is meant the mayic bonds of virtue, punya, and sin, papa. The Bhagavata says, if the action which is the product of the operation of the gunas is attributed to the self, then such false attribution is bondage in and samsara and servitude. The Bhagavad Gita also says, O son of Kunti, man is bound by action, which is the product of his own nature, svabhava. To inhibit this body for the purpose of undergoing papa or sin, and punya or virtue is bondage. In heaven one enjoys the fruit of punya or virtue, and in the netherworld or patala one suffers sorrow. And on earth man is subject to both papa and punya. For the tattvajnani, meaning him who knows the truth, there is neither punya nor papa, which are the causes of bondage. His accumulated karma, that is sanchita karma, of merit and demerit is also destroyed. He is in consequence under no bondage, whether in heaven, that's svarga, or earth, martya, or netherworld, patala, and he is not truly embodied. Such a one stays on earth so long as he has not worked out what he has begun. He is liberated through living, that's jivan mukta, and attains complete liberation on the dissolution of the body. The Kurnava Tantra says, those who have the Brahman in the heart can acquire neither merit by performing 100 horse sacrifices, nor demerit by killing 100 Brahmanas. The Gita also says, for him there is nothing in this world that should or should not be done. For such a one there is no dependence on any being. The Subodhini interprets this verse to mean that the knower, that's the tattvajnani, acquires no merit by the performance of actions, nor demerit by the omission thereof. Shruti speaks of the destruction of accumulated, that's sanchita, punya and papa. When manas, which is now selecting and now rejecting, is dissolved in dhat, when papa and punya are destroyed, Sadashiva, who is Shakti and Atma, is Shanta. The Bhagavad Gita says, and so the fire of knowledge destroys all actions. Complete power, samagra Shakti, that is, power which enables him to do everything. By power or Shakti is meant ability to do all he desires to do, and counteract all harm, to fly across the air, and to become possessed of great powers of speech and of poetic composition. Verse 46. Here is the excellent, supreme, 16th Kala of the moon. She is pure and resembles in color the young sun. She is as thin as the 100th part of a fiber in the stalk of a lotus. She is lustrous and soft like 10 million lightning flashes, and is downturned. From her whose source is the Brahman flows copiously the continuous stream of nectar, or she is the receptacle of the stream of excellent nectar which comes from the blissful union of para and para. Commentary. Verses 41 and 42 speak of the presence of Amakala, Nirvana Kala, and Parabindu within the triangle in the pericap of the Sahasrara. He now desires to describe them by their distinctive attributes, and speaks in this verse of the distinctive features of Ammakala, excellent or supreme, Para, that is, she is Chit Shakti. In the Prabhasa Kanda occurs the following passage: the excellent Maya who maintains the bodies of all that have bodies. This is the attributive of Amma, the 16th kala of the moon, Chandrasya Shodhashi. By this we are to understand that he is speaking of Amma Kala, pure, Shuddha, that is, stainless. She resembles, etc. Shishu Surya Sodara Kala. By this, the redness of this Kala is indicated. Thin as the 100th part of a fiber in the stalk of the lotus. Nirla Jakshushma Tantu Shatadha Bhagika Rupa. Thin like 100th part of the fiber in the lotus stalk, split lengthwise. Whose source is the Brahman, Nityananda Parampara. Nityananda is Purnananda or Brahman, flows, etc. Ati Vigalat Piyusha Dhara Dhara. If the last two compound words be read as one long compound word, as follows: Purnananda Paramparativa Vigalat Piyusha Dhara Dhara, the meaning of it will be as given within brackets at the end of the verse. Ananda will then mean the joy of union, and Parampara will then mean Shiva and Shakti. Para is Bindu Rupa or Shiva. Para is Prakriti or Shakti. Ananda is the joy which arises from the union of the two, and from such union flows the nectar of which Ammakala is the receptacle. Verse 47. Inside it, or Ammakala, is Nirvana Kala, more excellent than excellent. She is as subtle as the 1000th part of the end of a hair, and of the shape of a crescent moon. She is the ever-existent Bhagavati, who is the Devata who pervades all things. She grants divine knowledge and is as lustrous as the light of all the suns shining at one and the same time. Commentary. In this verse, the Nirvana Kala is described. Inside it, Tadantara Gata, that is, placed in the lap of Ammakala. The Kala has already been described as the crescent 16th Kala placed within Amma, and known by the name of Nirvana Kala. More excellent than excellent, Para Paratara. The Amma Kala is excellent. This is more excellent than Amma. If Parat Paratara be accepted for Para Paratara, then the meaning will be that she is the most excellent. She is as subtle as the 1000th part of the end of a hair. Keshagrasya Sahasrara Vibhajita Shyaya Kamsha Rupa. She is equal in dimension to the 1000th part of the end of a hair, so very subtle is she. of the shape of the crescent moon, Chandradhanga Samana Bhaguravati. Like Amakala, she is in the shape like a crescent. That Devata who pervades all beings, Bhutanam Adhidaivatam. Adhidaivatam is Hardha Chaitanyam, and this Kala is Hardha Chaitanyam Swarupa of all beings. She grants divine knowledge, Nitya Prabodhaya. That is, she grants Tattva-jnana, or knowledge of the Brahman, and is lustrous, Sarvaka Tulya Prabha. There are 12 suns. When all the 12 suns are shining, such is her luster. This adjective also implies that she is red. Verse 48. Within its middle space, that is, middle of the Nirvana Kala, shines the supreme and primordial Nirvana Shakti. She is lustrous like 10 million suns, and is the mother of the 3 worlds. She is extremely subtle, and like unto the 10 millionth part of the end of a hair. She contains within her the constantly flowing stream of gladness, and is the life of all beings. She graciously carries the knowledge of the truth or tattva to the mind of the sages. Commentary. He now speaks of the Parabindu. Its etasya, that is, of the Nirvana Kala. Middle, Madhyadeshi, means within the lap. The supreme and primordial Nirvana Shakti, Parma Purva Nirva Shakti, Parma. Apurva Nirvana Shakti. Parma, that is, the supreme Brahman as Shakti. Apurva, that is, she before whom there was nothing, she having appeared at the beginning of creation. Shines. Vilasati Parma, that is, dwells resplendent. Mother of 3 worlds, Tribhuvana Janani, that is, she is the origin of the universe which comprises Svarga, Martya, and Patala and the like. She is extremely subtle, like unto the 10 millionth part of the end of a hair. Keshagrasya Koti Bhagai Karupa Tisukashima. As she is like the 10 millionth part of the end of a hair, she is extremely subtle. She contains within her the constantly flowing stream of gladness. Niravadi Vigalati Prema Dhara Dhara. Prema is the tenderness of mind produced by feeling of gladness. That is, she holds within her the stream of excellent nectar, which has its origin in the blissful union of Shiva and Shakti, and which flows incessantly. Is the life of all beings. Sarvesham Jiva Bhuta, that is, animated being is but a part of her. O Devi, as sparks fly forth from a flame, so does the Parabindu as Jiva issue from her, that's Nirvana Shakti, and becomes knowing when it touches the earth. By her is meant the Shakti who is in the Parabindu, who is both Shiva and Shakti, and from her emanates the Jiva. Nirvana Shakti is situated below Nirvana Kala and over Nibodhika, which is Nada Rupa. Placed within Nirvana Kala is the fiery Vani Rupa, Nibodhika, who is unmanifested Nada. Above it is the supreme Nirvana Shakti, who is the cause of all and is possessed of the luster of 10 million suns. It is in her that there is the Brahman, who is the changeless Shiva. It is here that Kundalini Shakti enjoys the Paramatma. Nibodhika is a phase of Adyakta Nada and is fire-like. Raghava Bhatta says, Nada exists in 3 states. When Tamoguna is dominant, it is merely sound unmanifest in the nature of Dvani. When Rajoguna is more dominant, there is sound in which there is somewhat of a placing of the letters. When the Sattva Guna predominates, Nada assumes the form of Bindu. Hence, Nada, Bindu and Nibodhika are respectively the sun, the moon and fire, and their activities are Jnana, Ichcha and Kriya. Jnana again is fire, Ichcha the moon, and Kriya the sun. This has been said in the Sharada. Therefore, insomuch as it has been said that Nirvana Shakti is above the fiery Nibodhika, the wise should conclude that Nirvana Shakti is placed above the mandalas of the sun, the moon and the fire. This has been clearly stated in the Kulnarva Tantra, in the Para Brahma Dhyana, which begins, the Bindu Rupa Para Brahma in the Sahasrara, and ends saying, beautified by the 3 mandalas within the triangle in the pericarp. By 3 mandalas are meant the mandalas of sun, moon and fire. We shall show that the Nirvana Shakti is in the form of Parabindu. Verse 49. Within her is the everlasting place called the abode of Shiva, which is free from Maya, attainable only by the yogis, and known by the name of Nityananda. It is replete with every form of bliss, and is pure knowledge itself. Some call it the Brahman, others call it Hamsa. Wise men describe it as the abode of Vishnu, and righteous men speak of it as the ineffable place of knowledge of the Atma, or the place of liberation. Commentary. He speaks of the Para-Brahmasthana, meaning place of Para-Brahman, in the void within Nirvana Shakti. Within her, Tasya Madhyantar Le, that is, within Nirvana Shakti in her form of Param Bindu, that is, the empty space within the Bindu. Abode of Shiva, Shiva Padam. This is the place of the Brahman. Free from Maya, Amalam, that is, free from the impurity of Maya. Called, that is, called by those who know the Tattva. Attainable only by yogis, Yogi Gamyam. On account of its extreme subtlety, it is beyond the scope of word and mind, is attainable by yogis by pure jnana only. some call it, that is, the Vedantists or Vedantikas call it, ineffable, kimmapi, that is, wonder-inspiring, place of the knowledge of the Atma, Atma Prabodham, the place where the Atma is seen or realized, liberation, moksha, that is, where one is liberated from Maya by which one is surrounded. Now be good enough to mark the following. The Parabindu, which is Prakriti and Purusha, is surrounded by Maya and is within the triangle in the pericap of the lotus of 1,000 petals. So it has been said, in the Satyaloka is the formless and lustrous one. She has surrounded herself by Maya and is like a grain of gram, devoid of hands, feet, and the like. She is moon, sun, and fire. When casting off the covering of Maya, she becomes twofold aspect, that is, Dvidha Bhita and Unmukhi. Then on the division or separation of Shiva and Shakti arises creative ideation. The word Satyaloka in the above passage means Sahasrara. Also, the attributeless Bindu is without doubt the cause of Siddhis. Some say that Deva, who is one, stainless, all-embracing, and united with the primordial Shakti, is in the form of a grain of gram, is Brahma. And by some again he is called Vishnu. By others again he is called the Deva Rudra, the luminous empty space within the Nirvana Shakti, that is, the outer circle of the Parabindu, which is more minute than the 10,000,000th part of the end of a hair, is, according to the author, the abode of Brahman. Within it is Parabindu, whose nature it is to create, maintain, and destroy. The space within is Shiva himself, and Bindu is Paramakundali. Also, it says, the circumference or Vritta is the Kundalini Shakti, and she possesses the 3 gunas. The space within, O beloved Maheshani, is both Shiva and Shakti. This Bindu is, according to some, Ishvara, the cause of all. Some Paurnikas call him Mahavishnu. Others call him Brahma Purusha. There was neither day nor night, neither the firmament nor the earth, neither darkness nor any other light. There was that, the Brahma male, imperceptible to hearing, and the other sources of knowledge united with Pradhana. The Sharada says, the eternal Shiva should be known both as Nirguna, meaning attributeless, and Saguna, meaning possessed of attributes. He is Nirguna when considered as disassociated from the workings of Prakriti, but when Sakala, or associated with Prakriti, he is Saguna. This shows that the Bindu is Saguna Brahman. We should know that Saguna Brahman is in reality but one, though he is called by different names according to the inclinations of men. There is no need to go into further details. Summary of verses 41 to 49. Above the end of the Shushumna Nadi is the lotus of 1,000 petals. It is white and has its head downward turned. Its filaments are red. The 50 letters of the alphabet from A to La, L-A, which are also white, go round and round its 1,000 petals 20 times. On its pericap is Hamsa, and above it is the Guru, who is Paramashiva himself. Above the Guru are the Surya and Chandra mandalas, and above them Mahavayu. Over the latter is placed Brahmarandra, and above it is Mahashankini. In the mandala of the moon is the lightning-like triangle, within which is the 16th kala of the moon, which is as fine as the 100th part of the lotus fiber, and of a red color, with its mouth downward turned. In the lap of this kala is the nirvana kala, subtle like the 1,000th part of the end of a hair, also red, and with the mouth downward turned. Below nirvana kala is the fire called Nibodhika, which is a form of avyaktanada. Above it, and within nirvana kala, is Parabindu, which is both Shiva and Shakti. The Shakti of this Parabindu is the Nirvana Shakti, who is light, or Tejas, and exists in the form of Hamsa, and is subtle like the 10,000,000th part of the end of a hair. That Hamsa is Jiva. Within the Bindu is the void, or Shunya, which is the Brahmapada, meaning place of the Brahman. According to the view expressed in the 5th chapter of the Agama Kalpadruma and other works, the triangle A-Ka-Ta is in the pericap of the Sahasrara. At its 3 corners are 3 bindus. The lower bindu at the apex of the triangle is Ha-Kara and is male, and the 2 bindus at the corners constitute the Visarga in the forms Sa and represent Prakriti. Hamsa, which is Purusha and Prakriti, thus shows itself in the form of 3 bindus. In its middle is Amkala, and in her lap is Nirvana Shakti, and the vacant space within Nirvana Shakti is Para-Brahman. It has been said, within the mandala of the moon, in the white lotus of 1,000 petals, shines the lightning-like triangle Akata, united with Ha-La-Ksha. Within it is the excellent Para-Bindu, Shunya, placed below Visarga. In this region is the downward turned 16th kala, of the color of the rising sun, in shape like the crescent moon, who discharges a stream of nectar, and within her is Parashakti, possessing the effulgence of 10,000,000 suns. She is as subtle as the 1,000th part of the lotus fiber, and is Chiddatmika. Within her is the Bindu, who is the Nirjana Purusha, who is beyond mind and speech, and is Satchidananda. And Visarga, who is also there, is Prakriti. Hamsa, who is both Pum and Prakriti, shines by his own effulgence. Those who follow this view place Sakara over the Bindu, and place the Guru above Visarga, and Bindu, which together make Hamsa. But this cannot be right. The Nirvana Tantra speaks of the Guru as worshipping the Para-Bindu Rupa Shakti, and as being close to her, and in the act of worshipping her. The worshipper should always sit at a lower level than and in front of the object of worship, and never at a higher level than and behind the object of worship. From Nirvana. Meditate upon the Nirjana Devi within the Satyaloka in the Chintamani. As placed on the jewel throne or lion's seat, and on your Guru as being near her and worshipping her. The Mahakali Tantra, moreover, speaks explicitly of the presence of the Guru over the two letters Hum and Sa. It is to be understood that if there be any texts which differ from or add to those here adopted, then they must be taken to refer to different methods and opinions. This is the end of the 7th section.